This is Amber Alexander for LUT 1 at Western Governors University. Many couples have trouble conceiving but long to start a family. Some resort to fertility treatments and fertility drugs, but many turn to adoption. Even after choosing this method, there are still many choices to be made, such as whether to use public or private adoption. Private adoptions can be done through an attorney or an agency, and public adoptions are generally done through the foster care system or the Department of Human Services. Adoption, whether public or private, is a method to start a family, but potential parents have some serious matters to consider before choosing this avenue. Let's begin with private adoption. Private adoptions are done through an attorney or an agency. Every state has specific rules as to how these adoptions can work, but generally an expectant mother contacts the attorney or agency, and they put her in contact with potential adoptive parents. One of the issues of this method, though, is cost. Private adoptions are considerably more expensive than public adoptions, costing anywhere from $5,000 to $40,000 per child, whereas public adoptions can cost little to nothing at all. These numbers are from adoption.com, a website dedicated to informing potential adoptive parents. A benefit of a private adoption is that generally children can be found more quickly, and adoptive parents have more of a say in what kind of child they're looking for. Parents can be more specific in the race, age, and interests of the adoptive child and its parents. This also goes for the birth parents, who can also be just as specific. According to the Child and Adolescent Social Work Journal, another benefit of this option is the parents get to be more actively involved in the birth of their future child. Depending on the situation, adoptive parents may be allowed to be present at the birth of their future child. One of the downfalls of this is, again, cost. Depending on the arrangement, adoptive parents may be required to pay some or all of the medical costs of the expectant mother, adding to the overall cost of the adoption. Now let's discuss public adoptions. Public adoptions are generally done through the foster care program and Department of Human Services. The Cato Journal, in an article titled "A Market Alternative to Child Adoption and Foster Care," quotes, "Every year, almost 1 million children in the United States are victim of neglect and abuse. At any given time, about 581,000 children are in the foster care system, and 125,000 are up for adoption. About 17% remain in 5 years in foster care, a status that is intended to be temporary." Adoptions done through this avenue can cost little to nothing, but do have matters outside of cost. Although the President signed the Increasing Adoptions Act of 2008 that gives subsidies to parents who adopt through the foster care system, there are other costs to consider. Many of these children in foster care or up for adoption have problems to overcome. Some have diagnosed mental and physical problems, and some need additional counseling to get through the problems that ended them up in foster care in the first place. The Act provides some help with these added costs, and many state and adoption agencies offer preparatory service and support after the adoption. Generally, this help after adoption is not available when privately adopting. Another consideration when adopting publicly is that the majority of the children are older, and the potential parents will have less of a say of what child they will and what kind of child they have for adoption. Many people prefer this because they want to skip the infancy stage and get an older child. Public adoptions also come with siblings. Some have stipulations that the siblings are to be adopted also, and some don't. This may be a downfall for someone only looking for one child, but for potential parents who are looking for a ready-made family, this method is a viable and effective solution. This visual aid shows the average number of children in foster care according to the Cato Journal and the average number of those children up for adoption. You can see the average number of children right here in the red that are in foster care and the average that are up for adoption. The other table shows the cost difference between private and public adoptions. As you can see, private adoptions cost anywhere from $5,000 to $40,000, where public costs anywhere from $0 to $1,000. You can see the difference with thousands of dollars being the difference. In conclusion, whether choosing to adopt privately or publicly, many matters need to be considered. Most Cost before and after adoption, age of children, among other things, but in the end, it's about giving a child a home. Whether you choose siblings from foster care or a single child from a birth mother, all children need a loving and safe home, and if one is willing to provide this, then adoption is a good avenue to pursue.
Where should potential parents start researching when considering adoption?
You can start at the website adoption.org. It gives a lot of information to potential parents. You can also look at the Department of Human Services. In your area, they usually have websites and things to hand out. And any adoption agencies in your area will have pamphlets and things for you.
I've heard some people refer to an independent adoption. What is the difference between private and independent?
It depends on who you're talking to. In my research, some referred to private and public the way I have, private through an agency or attorney and public through foster care. But many in my research broke things up more, and they referred to independent adoptions as one done through attorney, and they broke adoption agencies into public and private and referred to all other adoptions as public because they're usually done through the foster care system.
Does an adoption through a public agency go quicker than a private adoption?
It just depends. Generally, they go from 4 months to 2 years, and it just depends on the regulations in your area and the situations of the adoption. Thank you very much.